2024 seems to be the year of the cube. My glorious King Satoru Gojo was trapped inside of a cube. The cube root of 2024 is a perfect number, and most of all, the Minecraft movie trailer came out, and although everyone is kind of not excited about it, I am very excited to see the movie next year. More importantly, I saw this video on TikTok where somebody made a Minecraft burger, and I was very excited because it looked very delicious. However, the creator is in Australia, the land down under, and unfortunately, when I checked the plane ticket prices, it looked kind of crazy and more than what I pay for rent, so I decided to make it at home. When I broke down the burger, it actually seemed pretty simple. It's just square bread, square cheese, square bacon, square burger, square lettuce, square tomato, and barbecue sauce as well as some mayo. So I was like, you know, this is actually not that hard. So let's figure out how to make it. We're going to start off with the second most important part of a burger, which is the bread. In Minecraft, everything is made out of blocks, and in the video we just watched, the burger bun was also made out of blocks. Technically, it wasn't a bun, but that doesn't matter. I quickly searched up square bread and got a bunch of responses. As you can see, the majority of the responses were a Japanese type of bread called shokupan, also known as milk bread, so I decided that is what I was going to make. But first I had to order the square pans from Amazon, which I did, and now let's start making our milk bread.
Today we're making a Japanese milk bread.
The recipe I used is by Quackspots on TikTok, and it's pretty simple for the most part. You start off by making something called Tangzhong, which is made with flour, water, and milk. I looked up what it does, and it's apparently supposed to help make your bread softer and fluffier and help it bounce back and absorb more liquid. It's science. I'm not the scientist who created it.
I did you, baby!
But back to the recipe, I soaked my yeast mixture in some water for 10 minutes, and then I added all the dry ingredients, which is some flour, the sugar, the salt, the actual Tangzhong, the yeast mixture, and put it in the blender until it started coming together. Then I slowly added the egg and some dough until it formed this soft, sticky, stretchy dough that looked super cool and it felt great. I squished it together in a ball, threw it in a bowl, and let it rest in the oven for about an hour and a half until it had doubled inside.
2 hours later.
I did accidentally turn the oven on, so that's why it kind of looks like that. But once it was fluffy, I smushed it down into little pieces, formed it into a dough ball, and then rolled it out before chopping it in half because you have to do another proofing session, which is super annoying, but that's what you get for making bread at home. Basically, I chopped it in half, and with half of the half, you have to fold it and then flatten out the fold and then roll it up like a cinnamon roll until it's this nice tight spiral. You seal the edges and then you throw it in a butter tin, cover it, and let it rise for another hour.
1 hour later.
Once that's done, your bread is finally ready to bake. I actually made a mistake here because I wanted to show you guys how much it had risen. I turned it sideways, which deflated it a little bit. So when I actually baked it, it came out half the size that it was supposed to because I accidentally knocked the air out of it, which is fine. As you can tell, it did not come out perfectly square because the top of it didn't reach the lid of the container, but it's still square enough that I can get away with just hiding the back. And here's what it looks like on the inside. It looked super nice and it was very fluffy. I carved out the inside piece because obviously we're going to be filling it with the burger, but you can see that the bread is fluffy. No matter how much I squish it and crumple it up, it just bounces back. And of course, it tasted very delicious. 8 out of 10.
This is so delicious.
Weaving is a craft that dates back over 12,000 years ago to the Neolithic era. It's used to make everything from clothing to baskets to rugs and so many more things. However, I don't think my ancestors ever imagined the day that I would be trying to weave pieces of bacon into a square. But that's what we're doing today for the Minecraft burger. Basically, I'm making a tic-tac-toe board and alternating the top to bottom and left to right bacon until it makes like this rug situation. I double layer it until it's nice and tight, and here's what it looks like. I figured like this was way too much bacon, so I did make a smaller one where I just used 3 strips and I chopped it in half just because I wanted to see what the size difference would be since bacon shrinks in the oven. Anyways, I baked it at 350 for, I don't even remember, like 20 minutes, and here's what it looks like at the end. As you can tell, it definitely shrank, but I think it actually works out because my bread is also not a full size, so we're going to be able to make it work. Shout out to my ancestors for teaching us how to weave, and for me learning the skills on YouTube on how to make a basket full of bacon. Meat, 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 meat. It's time for the most important part of the burger, the patty. This part is pretty simple. I just got some ground beef from TJ's. I did my best to mold it into a rectangle that would fit the container. As you can see, I'm using the lid to measure. And I just put it on my little indoor electric grill, added some salt and pepper, let that sizzle, listen to it. Once that was done on one side, I just flipped it over and let that cook, and I literally just kept flipping it over until it was done. And here's what it looks like. Let's move on.
Buns, ketchup, pickle, cheese, put that patty in between.
It's time to put everything together. Here's everything that goes into the burger. It's the bread, the burger bun, bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, mayo, and of course, barbecue sauce. I'm gonna start off with the cheese. Originally, it's supposed to be sliced cheese. However, when I checked my fridge, this is what my sliced cheese looked like. So I found a shreddable block and just chopped it up. I tried to melt it originally with my little hand torch and it did not melt. So the cheese won that round. Next, I added the bacon. It looks super good and it smelled super amazing. Next up is some lettuce. Then I added the tomato. I added 2 tomatoes because I actually really enjoy tomatoes. After that, I added one of the patties, and at this point it was getting really full, so I was trying to like shove it in there because the original recipe has double of everything and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. I added some Kewpie mayo, then I added more tomatoes because, as you know, I love tomatoes. I got the second burger patty. I tried to shove it in there. It was not going in, so I just gave up. Added the barbecue sauce, added some lettuce to close it all off, then topped it off with the bread topper. And now, if you remember the original picture, it had sliced cheese on it. Again, my cheese looks like this, so I decided that I would just use the rest of the shredded cheese and I put it in the oven to get melty. It took forever, so I had to melt it on the stove. I melted it a little bit more with the torch because, again, I love any reason to use a torch. I sprinkled some sesame seeds on it. Oh my gosh, look at how good it looks. It looks super amazing. I was very excited to I was just super excited to eat it, and I was trying to rotate it to get all the cameras. There's the ugly side that's not perfectly straight and square. It doesn't matter. Look at the pretty corners. Wow, amazing. So crispy, so edgy. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now it's time to chop it open, and I was so happy when I finally cut it and it just looked perfectly layers. It was like a cake. You could see every single layer. The bacon, the lettuce, the tomato, everything. It just made me super happy. That's why I kept on playing with it. I was like, open sesame, open sesame. Yeah. And as always, first bite is for you, bestie. Tell me how it tastes, because it actually was pretty good. It's a burger. Honestly, it's a good burger because I made it, but it's a burger at the end of the day. My only complaint is that it is really inefficient to eat it. It is just too big and you can't really get everything in one bite. So I will give it an 8 out of 10 because it's a burger. It tastes good. But on the eating points, I will give it probably a 2 out of 10. You definitely have to use like a knife to be able to eat this, a fork and a knife. And I think that defeats the point of a burger. But that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have any suggestions for what I should cook, please leave a comment down below, and see you on the next one. Bye, besties.